Dear President Obama,
Dear President Obama,
I'm writing you to discuss my views on the education policies implemented by the government, such as No Child Left Behind.
educators and students have been suffering for years due to a flawed system that fails to understand many of the needs of the teachers and students.
I'm a freshman music and arts management student studying at Baldwin Wallace University's Conservatory in Berea, Ohio.
As a student as well as a future educator, I have become invested in the importance of standardized testing and how it will affect classrooms in the future.
I grew up in a home with parents that both worked in the school systems. My father is a school business manager, and my mother is a school counselor. Needless to say, they both had different views on No Child Left Behind and standardized testing.
Standardized testing needs reform and assistance from the government in order to help students succeed.
My father, the numbers guy, sees the educational standards that are set by the Act as a very positive thing. Teachers, he claims, are now looking at statistics, measuring their students to the standard. On the other hand, my mother sees how stifling the test can be to some students, forcing students to learn and relearn subject matters seen on tests, inhibiting them from learning other material.
I have become invested in the importance of standardized testing and how it will affect classrooms in the future.
Growing up around this difference of opinion between my parents has helped me to form my own opinion.
I've come to the conclusion that standardized testing needs reform and assistance from the government in order to help students succeed.
The No Child Left Behind Act was introduced by George W. Bush's administration. It promised to provide a landmark reform in education by utilizing standardized testing to solve problems like low student success, especially in poorer districts. This would be achieved by holding schools more accountable for making their students proficient in reading and math. However, the act has relentlessly been criticized for its flaws and lack of results. Further aggravating this issue are the waivers Barack Obama granted select states. Instead of being subject to regulations under the No Child Left Behind Act, an exempted state may draft its own, more lenient standardized testing plan. Allowing states to create such vastly differing guidelines only widens the gap in learning between children in the United States.
High-stakes standardized tests do have some positive effects. Most importantly, standardized tests help to give teachers incentive to more rigorously work with their students and develop work ethic in the classroom. The incentive also helps students to be more prepared for the tests. Knowing that the scores for these standardized tests will affect their future success or failure, students put more effort into them and become more likely to succeed. Ruth Mitchell discovered that research shows a general trend in which high-stakes tests do indeed improve overall scores. The environment of high-stakes tests can especially bring forth student achievement and the desired effects and behaviors in students.
Standardized testing in its current iteration is doing more harm than good to our children. The opinion that No Child Left Behind's provisions are turning schools into testing factories is a popular one. If a district fails to show adequate yearly progress, the schools risk having restructuring measures or corrective action imposed by the state. Many teachers report that they have less freedom in deciding the curriculum, since they are forced to spend a considerable amount of the school year preparing students to be able to pass a single test. The pressure placed on both children and faculty is nothing but detrimental to overall progress and student success.
After students become proficient up to a certain level, an 8th grade level for example, testing should focus less on core fundamentals like English, math, and science, and instead focus on specialization tests. High school should move away from teaching mediocre standards to helping students achieve greatness in a few subjects. This can be done through specialization, which is implemented in a lot of European schools. In later years of schooling, testing through No Child Left Behind narrows the amount of specialization that can be taught and forces students to conform to an educational mold. In 2007, a national study released by the Center on Education Policy reported that since 2001, 44% of schools districts have reduced the time spent on science, social studies, and the arts by 145 minutes per week and replaced it with instructional time dedicated to focus on reading and math that show up on standardized tests. To ensure that students are learning to their full capacity, it is vital to make sure that teachers across the nation are teaching the same standard curriculum. In order to reap the benefits of standardized testing, testing should be implemented in students' early years of educational instruction. Students should be tested on the fundamentals, English, math, and reading, until the end of 8th grade, after which they will diverge into courses that are more specialized, focusing on the subjects that will help prepare them for their upcoming careers. Sometimes people concentrate too much on the prize and become overly obsessed with winning. They forget why they want to win the prize in the first place. Education in America has become too focused on achieving the title of becoming the best country in education that we have forgotten why we want to be the best. We want to be the best to support our children, to make them successful, and the only way to the top of the best education list is to take a step back and refocus ourselves on our country's children and what is best for them.